All right, guys. So here's the new plan. I've been asking myself, how do I gain financial freedom? How do I not have to go to a job? And I got thinking about it, and I came up with a brilliant idea. So that brilliant idea is going to be a means and a way to be able to achieve my financial freedom for my future and my family's future. Isn't that right, Tiffameister? You want to show them your new shoes that you got today? She got some new shoes today. You guys don't care about new shoes that anybody got, but hey, let's get back to the main point. Here's my plan. I have a 401k. I used to work for Asplin Tree Company. My 401k is still active. It has over $2,000 in it. So I could use that 401k and borrow from that 401k, roll it over to my bank account, talk to a banker or mortgage broker, and see what kind of mortgage loan I would be approved for. Because for the last 2 years, I've made roughly under $30,000. My friend, who made less than I did years ago when he purchased his house in Philadelphia, not a bad part of Philly either, because his house was 150 grand. And he was approved for that based off his income. And I think he was only making 13 or 14 bucks an hour. So if I was making roughly ten to maybe $12,000 more a year than he was, not saying I'm better, I'm just saying stating facts. So the plan is to use my 401k, roll it over to my bank account, talk to a mortgage broker, study location, purchase a house in Claymont, Delaware, because it's a tax-free state. Houses are a little cheaper out here. So if I was to try to get a house, ideally in Broomall, Pennsylvania, of Delaware County, the houses around there for the same size they are here are twice the amount out there and half the price out here. So a nice house for 150 grand would be equivalent to a nice house out in Media or Broomall for roughly around $300,000 for the same square footage. I know it's all about location, but Claymont is an up and booming area. You have executives and things like that living in these new development houses that they've been building up on Philadelphia Pike. They've been there for maybe 4 years or so. So that's what I'm going to do. 401k. I'll use that as my down payment for a house. I'll have the first homeowner buyer deal, maybe a mortgage rate of 3%, 3% interest. If lower, fine, but realistically, it's probably going to be 3%. They're going to run my credit, and my credit's not too bad. It's somewhere in like the 750s or so somewhere like that, something like that. So you do that, purchase the house, a 4 to 3 bedroom house, ideally a 4 bedroom house in Claymont, Delaware. That's nice for 150 grand. With a mortgage that's probably going to be roughly around $800 to no more than $900 a month. That's my budget for me to make profit. If I am able to get the loan and I'm able to purchase the house, I'm going to do a little experiment here. Currently, where we're at, it's a condominium. There's a spare bedroom over there that nobody uses at all. I'm going to take a picture of it. I freshly painted it not that long ago. I'm going to set it up like a guest bedroom, and I'm going to take a picture of that bedroom, and I'm going to post it on a few different sites, and I'm going to label it in separate locations. Probably different angles of the room so it doesn't look like the same room so people don't catch on to it. It's an experiment to see before I make this investment, to see if people will actually contact me within a reasonable amount of time to rent the room out. Because I don't want to buy a house and rent 4 rooms out if I'm going to have difficulty finding a good tenant or somebody who has steady income, a decent credit score, a good track record of employment somewhere. But I rented out a house myself in the past, and I was having difficulty maintaining it on my own due to personal reasons at the time. And I had no problem renting the room out to somebody. The first tenant, he just kind of like disappeared. I don't know where he went. He gave me first months and last months. I don't even think he was there for 15 days, and he just disappeared. Started getting notices in the mail from Temple Hospital and things like those. Kind of disturbing. He left all of his clothes and things like that at the house. I had no idea where the dude went. He was a good dude, though. Just I don't know what was going on with him. The other guy I rented out to, Nick, he had a heroin problem, and Nick was basically trying to take the house out from under him. But since I had known the landlord personally, Steve, the guy who owned the house, this Polish guy, he was friends with a close friend of mine at the time, Paul Uchmauer, and he basically sided with me, and Nick had to go. Eventually, one of my friends, he finally got out of jail, and he moved in with me. While he was in jail, his mother would stop by and basically save the space so I wouldn't rent it out to anybody else or I wouldn't lose the house. She would pay half the rent. I would pay the other half. And that was for me keeping that room vacated and open. So when my buddy got out of jail, he had a place to go. And turns out he got an apartment later down the road in the same area, Port Richmond, Philadelphia. And now he has a house and a daughter. He's been straight ever since, and he's been good. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Because I'm tired of working these jobs, man. They're bullshit. So, they just are. There's no financial freedom. And even if you climb the ladder, you're going to hit a wall and you're not going to end up being happy anyway. So the best thing you could do is just gain financial freedom. Find a way to get a house, 4-bedroom house, and then have somebody else pay your mortgage for you. So have 3 to 4 bedrooms, charge $400 to $450 a month. I mean, that's what I used to pay when I was renting a room in Havertown, Pennsylvania. So, and that didn't even include utilities. So I was really paying like $600 something. But $450 a month for each room. The house is going to be immaculate and nice and beautiful and all that shit. So people aren't going to want to leave. It's going to be $450 a month. So that's $900. That's $1,800. And if the mortgage is $800, well, that's $1,000 in my pocket. I could put maybe $2 to $3 grand aside for tax money, and the other $5 I profit from, or 500. I'm sorry, 500 I profit from. I could build a line of credit. I could purchase another house and do the same thing and replicate it, maybe 5, 6 times over. And then once I have an expansion of 6 homes, I can start taking that 500 multiplied by the total of 6 houses, which would be $3,000. And I can start paying on the mortgage for one of the houses myself while working a decent job like a truck driver or or whatever, what have you, code official, inspector, something that's gonna pay well while I do that, because everybody needs a place to live, and if they're not going to rent from you, they're going to rent from somebody else. And if you make your house look gorgeous and beautiful, even though they don't own it, whole tile walls, the whole shebang, the blue walls, gray walls, the white, the not the regular paint, but like the satin paint, you know, kind of like child-proof it in a way, so fingerprints and things like that don't get all marked up on your house too much. Uh, you just take the revenue of all six properties and dump that profit into the first property to whatever they're paying that mortgage on top of the $3,000 you're going to dump on the first property. That way, your interest will potentially go down, and you'll be able to pay that house off sooner. And once you're able to pay that one house off sooner, you're still at the end of that. It's like you own that one property now. It's like officially yours, and they're still paying the rent, which never goes away, and you're still making at that point $1,800 a month off the tenants, and that's all profit then, in addition to all the other houses. And then the second time you go to pay off the second house, time it takes to pay off that house will be even sooner, because you see the first house is already paid off, and then you replicate that. It's like a domino effect. You replicate that to 3, 4, 5, and 6 house, and eventually, once they're all paid off, um, that's great. And by that time, you should be in your 40s or 50s. If you want to have a couple kids, or maybe give a couple properties to your kids, or something, or give it to a family in need and do some kind of good to the world, you can do that. Or you could simply sell them all to somebody and just retire on that in addition to your job. I mean, you'll be set. Or like I said, you could just pass all 6 properties down to your kid, because the biggest problem is getting a start. People who have kids too soon, and get a mortgage and all that, and just have the one steady job, and they have to pay for their kids, I don't know, summer camp or tutoring, or their friends are going to this and that club and they want to go too, and they feel excluded and it's expensive as shit. And somehow, maybe their friends are making fun of them because they're not included in that. They might understand it when they're older, but point is, if you could provide a way for your kids to have a great life growing up, why not? But anyway, let's get back to the math here. So I'm looking at, let's see, what did I say? 450 times 4. That's $1,800, right? We already established that prior. Multiplied by the units of homes, which is 6. So that would be $10,800. And if I'm not mistaken, between all 6 properties, if you're able to keep all 4 rooms, ideally in all 6 homes, full for the duration of the year, if everything goes perfectly, right? That's $10,800 every single month. And you multiply that by 12 months out of the year. So you're looking to make roughly $129,600 annually. And the best part is, all you have to do is be your own maintenance man, or hell, you're making that kind of money, hire a maintenance man for $30,000 and you can go maintain your properties. That will give you financial freedom. And you can live in some $300,000-$500,000 house or something, or you could start businesses and you can start building your little empire. And it all starts with a risk. It all starts with just getting a little house and renting it out and writing up contracts so people don't screw you over on squatter rights and destroying the inside of your property. Um, Unfortunately, you might have to be a little selective on who you let live in there. Forget what I mean. So, sounds good to me. I don't know why people don't do it. I think it's a great idea. And I have this little card here. Stopped by this open house the other day. It's Remax Mainline. Of course, this is just a realtor. He's not really going to help me get approved for a house. Like I said, I would have to go talk to a mortgage broker about that. But for a first-time home buyer, I'm not going to tell them I'm planning to rent the place out because they probably may be inclined not to loan it out to me. But and I have my 2 years of income. For the last 2 years, I went to a tax place called Med Tax, uh, where it breaks down exactly what I made. And I was in the armed security field, but I was still in the same industry essentially for a couple of years, even though things happen. I mean, contracts end. You might get laid off for a period of time. You might have to call up your other buddy, go work for him for a little bit. But in all collaboration for the past 2 years, I've made about $27,000. So Matt could get my buddy could get a loan for 150 grand on his house. I could get a loan for this, and I think it's the way to go. So those are my plans. Isn't that right, Tippemeister? So we can live in a big, beautiful house, right, Tippemeister? Never have cats, right? You get like 10 pugs. I don't know about 10 pugs. It's a little much, but hey, you only live once, right? So why not make the best of life? With that revenue, I'll be able to start businesses, all kinds of different businesses that I can essentially start up and run in the real world. And painting, concrete, landscaping, snow removal, plumbing, HVAC. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Maybe some kind of CDL trucking school. And it's not about the money for me, like I said, but you do need money to build, to be able to provide more service. You're not going to be able to do that if you're limited at a job and that job occupies all of your time. I mean, when do you have the time if you're working 6 days a week to go talk to a mortgage broker? Like time. I know they say certain skill sets are worth so much money. Like a cashier is only worth like maybe $10 an hour and shit like that. But it's not just about that. It's the fact that you're giving your time, your precious time, where you could be doing all kinds of research and learning all kinds of valuable things. But instead, if you go to a job, it's like they rob you of your time and manipulate you into this whole money thing. And believe me, there's enough to go around. There's just a lot of greedy people out there. And they're reluctant to tell you how to do certain things because as long as you stay stuck, they're not like you're not going to be a problem for them. Like they don't care if you're working pissing like 10, 20, 30 years of your life away in some warehouse that anybody could be fired from at any given moment for any given reason. And if you have no other skill set, where does that leave you? I mean, come on, just be a little more intelligent than setting yourself up to allow people to take advantage of. So, happy Sunday, guys. And with that, I bid you good day. Isn't that right, Temple Monster? Yeah, look, I got my haircut. Yeah. Yeah.